Welcome to NABOR's Allied and Affiliate Spotlight Show, the show that gives you tips and strategies, tools and resources to help you save time and money, streamline your daily tasks, grow your business, and help you become a more successful and advance your career. My name is McCloskey, and I'm the president of NABOR and your host. And I'd like to welcome Josh Neely from Mosquito Marshals of Southwest Florida and Jay Graham from Florida Seawall Solutions. So we got two interesting companies here today. So I'm going to start with you, Jay. Tell us a little bit about Florida Seawall Solutions.
Florida Seawall Solutions, we run across the whole state of Florida. Obviously, there's a lot of older seawalls from my territory, runs from Marco Island all the way to Englewood or Placida area. Basically, we're a soil erosion company, so seawalls are there to keep the soil in your yard, and a lot of times when a seawall fails or is about to fail, a lot of times it shows signs that your soil is leaving from behind the seawall, ending up in your canal. A lot of voids, and there's other reasons that cause your seawall to fail, but most of it happens when our seawalls are leaching soil through the seawall, and we prevent that. We have a process to seal your seawall and then to help relieve the pressure behind the wall with the hydrostatic pressure that builds up at tidal change. And it's very unique, and as long as your seawall is fairly straight and vertical, we can definitely help out and take care of most of the problems that happen to the seawalls down here in Southwest Florida.
Awesome, good stuff. Very interesting. I learned something new. So Josh, fill me in a little bit on Mosquito Marshals of Southwest Florida.
Absolutely. We're a pest control company that obviously specializes in mosquitoes and biting flies. By biting flies, we mean, no-see-ums, deer flies, anything that's gonna, try to take a blood meal while you're outside trying to enjoy your property. We do guarantee our service, and one of the things that's most important to us, especially here in Southwest Florida, is leaving as small of an environmental footprint as possible. So that means, being really careful with everything that we apply, making sure that we do it in a responsible manner to where we are able to provide our customers with relief from mosquitoes and protection against the diseases that they carry, and at the same time preserve the water quality in the area.
Awesome. Well, I can personally attest to that because I've been a customer of yours for a while, and I am very thankful where I live for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. All right. So Jay, you told us a little bit about your company. So elaborate a little bit more. So we understand about the seawall prevention and restructuring up if something happens. So elaborate a little bit more about that.
Well, I guess I'll start with the construction of a seawall, because most people don't know. A seawall is there to keep the soil in your yard, as we talked about. We don't do new seawalls, so we don't install any new seawalls. People want to know that. But basically, we have a poured-in-place seawall. That's a one continuous concrete pour poured on a footer. That's one type of wall. There's seawall panels that are installed, usually between 4 to 6 feet, and they kind of interlock together to build your seawall. And then there's a riprap seawall, obviously, that certain counties allow. But basically, they also have the same problem. Over time, the seawall is there to prevent the soil from leaching through into the canal, where you lose part of your lot or your property. And what ends up happening is when that happens, there's noticeable voids that happen behind your seawall. And that's just one thing that can happen, but that's the most visual sign that a seawall is starting to fail. And what happens when you lose the soil behind your seawall, it's almost like a backrest up against your seawall. When the water tide rises, the seawall pushes back against the soil. And if there's any type of voids there, it can cause cracking, can cause the wall to warp, and so forth. Another indicator that the wall is starting to lose its function is that when the water from a hurricane or a high tide comes in and parks a bunch of water, people don't think that the seawall is there they think it's there to stop the water, but a lot of times the water, it'll never stop the water. percolates underneath the mud line and equalizes up. So if you just think of one side with high water, the other side will eventually equalize up to the height of the tide. And as that tide shifts or a hurricane goes by and pulls the water out of the canals, there's all this water behind your seawall, and water weighs 8.3 pounds a gallon. So that's a few swimming pools of water behind your wall pushing against your wall. And that's called hydrostatic pressure. And we also relieve that as well, because that's when most walls fail, that wall will just feel that pressure and either be pushed out or completely be collapsed. And that's when we see most failures. So we prevent that as well. Concurrently with the soil erosion or by itself with installing what are called jet filters, which relieve the weep holes of their 1-inch diameter. We core drill out a 2.5-inch weep hole with a screen of filter fabric in a cone shape that fits into your seawall. And again, just helps relieve that hydrostatic pressure. So that think of Swiss cheese, not as much pressure on the back of your wall when there's those larger holes in the panels.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Very, very interesting stuff you got there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Josh, tell us a little bit about Mosquito Marshals. So there's, obviously there's a lot of companies out there that offer what you do. So what sets yours apart?
So as far as what sets us apart from other mosquito control companies, the first thing I would kind of bring up would be the fact that we are certified by the CDC in Master Vector-Borne Disease Management. We're the only private company in Southwest Florida that is at the moment. And essentially what that means is we focus more on species identification and habitat reduction than really anything else, because that's really the real battle with mosquitoes. We also have Aedes aegypti mosquitoes here in Southwest Florida they're really spreading quickly. And the problem that they present is that they are completely resistant to most of the traditional pesticides out there. We do specialize in their reduction. And how we do that is we use products that we're actually doing field trials for a company out of Texas that makes a botanical product specifically for Aedes aegypti. We're one of 2 companies in the US right now that's doing those field trials. We're seeing a lot of great results with it. I guess another thing I'd like to touch on is the fact that whenever a new customer gives us a call to come out and service their property, if we don't have any properties like right next to it, the first thing that we always do is we come out and set out traps overnight. So what that allows us to do is collect a sample of the adults that are active in the area, and we bring that sample of the adults back to the office and put them under a microscope, identify the species, which then allows us to start having a more targeted approach to finding the source of the mosquitoes. So for instance, if we come out and we catch a lot of Pseudophora ciliata mosquitoes in the trap overnight, we know that they're a floodwater species. We know that if they're a real problem there, then there's likely going to be on that property or a neighboring property, a large area of just kind of nasty floodwater that's just kind of sitting there stagnant. We use a lot of larvicide in our treatments, and essentially what that means is we come out and we use different variations of it, whether it's a granular or a liquid form, but we treat that standing water, and we use primarily BTI, which is a really targeted larvicide. So the only organisms in nature that it affects are mosquitoes in the larval stage, black flies in the larval stage, and fungal gnats in the larval stage. So that allows us to, really eliminate the source of the mosquitoes. And then, if necessary, which usually it is, because down here it's usually an infestation of mosquitoes, then we come out with the backpack mist blowers, and we actually treat the foliage, tree canopies, under any kind of awnings or eaves that are on the house or the lanai, and essentially eliminate anywhere that they are able to wait for a blood meal. So you'll notice a lot of times when you walk outside, you'll see, mosquitoes kind of hanging around the tops of the doors and places like that. So we treat those areas. It kills the adult mosquitoes on contact and continues to repel them and kill them for up to 3 weeks. So it's really a targeted approach. We use a lot of integrated pest management with it. If we come into an area that has a lot of Aedes aegypti, for example, their flight range is going to be really small compared to other mosquitoes. Like salt marsh mosquitoes, they have a flight range of up to 40 miles. So whenever they emerge by the trillions along the coastlines and in the salt marshes, and then they'll fly in. Obviously, when they emerge like that, they can present a real problem for families anywhere in that 40-mile flight range. With Aedes aegypti, their flight range is going to be closer to 150 feet to 150 yards. And so we actually have traps that we leave in place that we kind of hide in the foliage that actually attract any females that have already taken a blood meal and are looking to lay their eggs. It attracts them into the trap. They lay their eggs, which the trap contains larvicide. So it kills all of those eggs once they hatch into larvae. And it also has a couple of enzymes that attach to the adult mosquito that slowly degrades the exoskeleton. And that larvicide and the enzymes attach to the adult mosquito, and she actually takes those wherever she goes to lay her eggs next. So that's a way that we can, eliminate a property as a source of mosquito activity. And then coming in behind that and treating for the adults, we see a lot of success. And that's why we're able to guarantee our service the way that we are. So what that means is essentially if somebody's a customer of ours and they ever have any issues with mosquitoes, as long as we're treating the property, all they have to do is give us a call and we come back for free.
That's awesome. That's a great guarantee.
Yes, ma'am.
Good stuff. So Jay, back to you. So do you have any interesting stories that you've worked on, maybe somebody's seawall that's memorable that you'd like to tell us? Obviously leave names out of it, but anything interesting about your job that you want to tell us?
A couple things. Obviously we're on the seawall, we're on the water side, and some beautiful views of some different properties that we get to go to. There's a lot of HOAs that, very large properties all the way to the residential properties, that are fairly small depending on where you go to. So I just see a variety of people and projects that we get to go to on a daily basis. I do 3 of these a day, 5 days a week. There's no shortage of seawall remediation that can be done. A memorable one, I have usually when people call us, they're either thinking about a new wall or their wall is they just don't know what to do. And we give a lot of great information and education. And one of my favorite ones are where people just don't know. And we take our time and we educate them on kind of how the seawall is built, kind of what the problems they're facing, how they happen. And my favorite is when somebody says, I don't know anything about a seawall, but then when I leave, they say, you talk a lot with your hands and you explain things in a way that just makes me feel comfortable. I get it. And I could probably have a conversation about my seawall with anybody at this point. One of my favorites is just a nice little young lady that's just by herself out in a little town close to here, St. James City and on Pine Island, west of Cape Coral, and just didn't know who to trust, and just had multiple people tell her she needed a new seawall. And new seawalls can be anywhere from $400 to $700 a linear foot. So think about an 80-foot seawall at $500 linear foot is about $40,000. And she didn't need a new seawall. She just had some erosion issues, and really by explaining the process and by walking the seawall, by drawing up the seawall and really taking our time measuring it out, explaining at every panel seam that it needs to be sealed to stop the soil erosion, explaining that the hydrostatic pressure buildup behind the wall is what causes most walls to fail, and to help relieve that, here's what we do. And that's my favorite. It could be one person, it could be 100 people. It's the same thing. It's just getting them to a point where they feel comfortable, just understanding what we're trying to do and how we do it compared to what's been done in the past. And if in the past, if you needed a new wall, you got a new wall. Regardless if you need it remediated or not, there was just a new wall, and that was the only option. So having our ability to come in and do our process to remediate your existing wall, it's usually somewhere between 20 and 25% the cost of a new wall. It's a fairly good option for most people. It also comes with a 10-year warranty. People tend to like that, and it's an erosion warranty, so you won't have any more of those voids that permeate through your wall and cause those big holes in your yard anymore. And it really just returns your wall back to the way it was originally designed, which is keep the soil in, let the water out. Aesthetically, it doesn't change the approach and appearance of your wall, but I think our approach and our appearance of just explaining that to people really, again, it's not, one doesn't stand out. But I've done plenty of walls where I've done a wall that was built at the same time for several different neighbors. We did our project and our treatment, and I've gone back out after several hurricanes, and those walls are no longer there, where our client's wall is still there. So those are some of my favorites, because it just shows that our remediation process to help that wall return back to normal is powerful enough to withstand, even old concrete can withstand a very big storm if you build it back right the way it was originally designed. And that's what we try and do.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask you both this question, and I'm going to start with you, Josh. What's the number one question you get asked about your service?
So the number one question I get asked is absolutely, does it really work? Most of my customers that I've gotten over the past year or two have come from other services that offered mosquito control. And really what it comes down to is, obviously the answer is yes, it does really work. And the reason why our service works so much better than other services in the area is because we actually take the time to identify the species, identify the habitat, and then treat the problem at its source. That's really most of the battle when it comes to mosquito control. And that's a question that I love getting because honestly, I just get to, prove it by showing the customers how well it works.
Absolutely. I can certainly attest to that, because like I said, I live in the swamp, and whenever you come out, it's always helpful. So thank you.
Great to hear.
Good. So Jay, same thing to you. What's the number one question you get asked about your service?
We inject the foam at the panel seams to seal the seams, so it's all underground. And the number one thing that everyone asks is, how do I know that it worked, or that what you did is going to help? Obviously, there's two reasons why most seawalls fail, and we take care of both of them. So really, cosmetically, you're not going to see much of a difference. However, it's with a 10-year warranty, you have plenty of time to see if any of those voids come back. You have plenty of time to really inspect your wall for any new cracking or any new signs of any stress and so forth. And really, that comes over time. You can't fake these things happening. They will just continue if you don't solve the problem 100%. So the biggest thing is having those people understand that if there is a further issue or an issue, that we will be back out to take care of it. And if there is no issue and you don't see any signs of an additional issue, then we have absolutely solved the problem.
Awesome. Well, it's obvious to me that you are both extremely passionate about your work. So I congratulate both of you for finding something that you love to do. That's pretty awesome. So I wanted to close up, but I want to see, is there anything else that you want to say to our members? Actually, you know what? I got one other question for you. And Jay, I'm going to throw this back to you, and then I'm going to ask Josh. Jay, why do you like being a NABOR member?
I think it's because of the realtor organizations, or any realtor by themselves, is really, it's just, to me, you live and die by a commission or a home sale. And in my world, the two biggest things, I deal with Ramjack, which is a foundation company. I'm also Florida Seawall, which is a seawall company. And you put either of those in front of a buyer with any issues, a seawall being a major expense, and if there's issues or just some concerns about a cracked seawall or a bowing seawall, or just the home inspector said you might want to have someone look at it. To me, a realtor is really going to suffer from even the most minute of problems that the buyer may or potentially have in his or her mind as a problem. And to me, being a NABOR member and working with realtors to just help them understand that hey, we'll do a lunch and learn for an organization, for your Coldwell Bankers, for your Remaxes, for your Century 20, whatever it may be. I'll do a lunch and learn. I'll teach you everything you need to know about a seawall. I'll give you real life pictures. I'll show you the solutions. I'll show you the problems, and just giving them the ability to talk about it in a competent manner, so it makes sense, and what to look for will definitely help the realtor with their business going forward, because nobody wants to buy a house with a bad seawall. Nobody wants to buy a house with a bad foundation, and both of those areas are easy for me to remediate or to fix. So there's no reason for you or your clients to take a stance that, I'm not going to buy this house because of this. Well, if I can help you close a house sooner because of a problem that wasn't a big deal, then I'd be glad to help. And that's why I'm trying to align myself with NABOR, any realtors, and really y'all are my best customers. I get a lot of people that just say, hey Jay, can you have a look at this for me? I'd love to. And that's really where I want to be, and that's the best place for me to park my expertise and partner my alliance with a company like or a corporation like NABOR, and the organization has been nothing but fantastic, so I can't complain.
Awesome, good stuff. So Josh, over to you. What do you like about being a NABOR member?
It's been great to kind of, get to meet a lot of realtors in the area and get to know them. And my answer is actually pretty similar to Jay's. Even though the businesses are different, the industry is the same as far as NABOR goes. So one of the things that I have really enjoyed is whenever a realtor has a property that, they're really is somebody's dream property, and they go out to show them, and whenever they start looking at the outdoor space, if it's around dawn or dusk, most places down here you're just going to get eaten alive by mosquitoes, and that's where we can come in and have come in several times and actually treat the property beforehand and allow the homeowner to kind of see what the property can be at its best, especially the outdoor spaces, where you can go outside with your family and play in the yard, spend time out there with the kids, around the pool, whatever it may be. And, you can really just maximize the potential of the property by using our service to be able to come in and just enjoy your time out there without having to worry about mosquitoes.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, absolutely. So any last words before we end today with Jay and Josh? Either one of you want to say something before we close today? Or you think you got it all?
Thank you for the opportunity to come on and speak with you a little bit. And thank you personally for, your business. And that's something I really appreciate. And, if any NABOR members have any issues with mosquitoes or biting flies, just give us a call.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. Jay, any last words? I think you're muted, Jay.
All right, that's better. Same as Josh. We just want to thanks for being a member of the NABOR and you putting this on for us, because this helps us in the spotlight in the COVID time. So we ultimately appreciate any extra effort, and obviously you guys have done this with Wade and so forth, and we really appreciate that. It's Florida Seawall Solutions. We really do remediate seawalls. We do tiebacks when needed as well. We do the remediation of the seawall in terms of the hydrostatic pressure and the seam seal. It's pretty straightforward, but if any NABOR members want us to come out and look, I'm just a phone call away, a quick text. Either way, my number's on there. We'd be happy to just come out and inspect by any means, and just to reassure people, or at least provide a solution or a service plan to try and help out any way we can as a partner member. So we just appreciate you doing your part and helping us to kind of get our name out there. So we want to thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, Josh with Mosquito Marshals of Southwest Florida and Jay with Florida Seawall Solutions, we appreciate your time today, and we look forward to working with you in the future. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Corey. You too.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.